and welcome to another Round the Rotary with me, J.P. Warren, and with us today we have Ryan Keys, the co-founder and president of Triple Crown Resources. But before we begin, and this is the first time I've done this, I'd like to say that Round the Rotary podcast is brought to you by Capital Petroleum Consultants. CPC specializes in project engineering and well site supervision in all disciplines of the oil and gas industry. You can contact us through www.capitalpetroleumconsultants.com to see what CPC can do for you today. Pretty good.
Solid, man.
I think that sounded great.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's get back to it. So we got Ryan Keys, the co-founder and president of Triple Crown Resources. Thanks for coming in today, by the way, Ryan.
No worries.
I appreciate that.
It was a 7-block bicycle ride.
Did you? So you on your bike?
Yes.
I was waiting for that cold front to come through.
It didn't.
didn't.
I'm sweating a little bit.
We're getting teased too much. It's like, oh, you got a hurricane coming. Just kidding. We got a cold front coming. Just kidding. Let's get enough with that.
Just kidding. Weather still sucks.
Well, that's Houston for you.
Yeah.
We were just talking about it.
If it was 9 blocks, I would have had to drive.
Well, I would have Ubered.
I think that's my break-even sweat point. It's about 8 blocks, something like that.
I think I'll Uber to take the trash out from back here, from here to this front thing, just because it's so hot.
Yeah. Uber passenger rides in Houston go up as a function of ambient temperature and humidity.
That's why I want to have you on today.
Yeah.
You're very interesting gentleman. So I'll tell you what. Let's get the kind of what we start off with, and let's kind of get into it. You and I were talking a little bit before, and again, thank you for coming on. Micah Renfro, who was a guest on Round the Rotary podcast, mentioned to reach out to you that you'd be a great addition,
Yeah.
a great guest. So I guess let's kick this off. Why don't you tell us a little bit where you're from and kind of give us a background on where you've been and kind of where you're at today.
All right. Well, yeah, and Micah does know about 98% of everyone in Houston. So
And Austin.
And Austin.
And
yeah,
Dallas.
Texas.
He's popular.
Texas, yeah, popular guy. Yeah, just grew up in Austin. Pretty unremarkable, enjoyable childhood.
Yeah.
Went to Austin High. It was right there on the lake, across from Westlake, and
Oh yeah. Okay.
yeah, just pretty standard time. Yeah, unremarkable, and I had a pretty badass childhood.
Well, it's a pretty good place to
It
be
is.
brought up.
It is
In Texas.
It is, and it is widely different now. And I'm not one of those townies who just complains about things changing. I got a bunch of friends who never left and like, well, I'd like Austin how it used to be, and it's like a lot of the people who weren't born there and moved there, like they miss how it was when they moved there. So that's like everyone ever.
Man, I don't know though. I used to before CPC. I was at Pinergy, and they're based out of Austin. And I started there, I think, in 2011 or 12. And the amount, the skyline of Austin changed in the last 5 years. I get it. I mean, of course, it's kind of changing too fast.
It is. It's all condos too.
Yeah, I mean, also like in BK, where Churchill and Cole Thompson live up, like all those hills are being surrounded by new homes, new builds.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that it's the most expensive. This is a weird stat. It's the most expensive real estate in the United States not on a coast. So you got to think about that for a second.
Really?
Okay, what are the comps here? What are we looking at? I mean, Phoenix, Nashville, St. Louis. So it's not like we're not comparing it to
but it's still
LA and
but
New
it's
York.
still growing too. I mean,
It is.
Tesla's moving there, and I
It
actually
is.
read yesterday. I don't know if this is true or false, but I think I read it yesterday that Disneyland is potentially closing up shop in California, moving to Texas.
Whoa.
I have to fact check that, but this isn't.
Whoa.
I don't have a computer with me because I'm focused on you, not other
I
stuff.
appreciate that.
But that's what I heard. So anyway, so you grew up, picture perfect childhood
Yeah.
in Austin,
Yeah.
and then what?
And then I just decided to stay there 4 more years. Well, 5 more years. Victory lap. I went to UT. It's just applied elsewhere. And it's just kind of the value thing. It's like engineering, pretty good engineering school, solid.
Did you always want to be an engineer?
It was kind of random. It was like, all right, that's something that leads to it. I had no idea what engineers did. It's like I know that engineers have made a good living.
So
it involved math,
which is pretty cool. So you're a mathlete.
math and physics.
You're a mathlete. Okay.
Yeah.
So are you first generation oil field?
Yes.
Yeah. Me
Yeah.
too. Me
Nice.
too. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, it was kind of accidental. Senior design project at UT, sponsored by Schlumberger.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Was it go to grad school? Do I want to go find a job or something? So it was just like mildly interesting. It's like, this is a solid company, oil field. I've never done anything here. I know we produce a lot of gas and oil and gas in Texas, but definitely not around Austin.
I didn't know anything about it before I started. I was like, okay, you just get gas at the gas station. I was clueless. I grew up in Connecticut, so I wasn't raised around it, you know. And
you have an excuse. I didn't. I grew up in Texas. So
even if I didn't have an excuse, I'd make up an excuse.
True.
I remember I still want to finish with you, but Schlumberger. So I got my master's in France, okay, and I moved to Houston, and I couldn't find a job for like 6-7 months. And I remember that they were like, you know, I got my undergrad at A&M, and they're like, you know, utilize the Aggie network, you know, like, you know, it's a family. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna start utilizing the Aggie network. So I reached out to this one woman at Schlumberger. And I pick up the phone, I call her, and I'm talking to her. I'm like, you know, I just want to let you know, like, I've always looked at your company and valued it. Like, love what you guys do. Like, just pretty much like random bullshit. And at the end, I'm like, yeah, like, I'm just really excited about Schlumberger and like what y'all do. And like, she's like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
she like hung up the phone. And I told my dad that. My dad's like, you idiot. You studied in France, the French company, Schlumberger. I was like, oh, that makes more sense. That's why I haven't heard back from her.
Yeah, you know what I like doing is just take it one step further. Just own the Texanness or whatever. Just call it cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger?
Yeah, just say cheeseburger.
Well, I'm going to start. Well, it's better than Schlumberger.
Blue cheeseburger.
So blue cheese. So, all right. So, math and physics interested you. You got your PE from UT.
It was mechanical engineering.
Mechanical engineering.
Yeah,
okay,
it's kind of like the liberal arts of engineering. A lot of people get that degree and just they don't know what they want to do. It's just like it's kind of a catch-all. You learn a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I was like, okay, well this sounds good. And senior design project, and that led to an internship and a job, full-time job in Sugar Land. And it was.
Was it your first job, oil and gas?
Yes, it was. So just moved to Houston and didn't really want to live in Sugar Land as a 23-year-old. So
I get it.
I get
it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Nice place though. But yeah, as a mechanical engineer, it's just we're on looking at LWD tools and why they failed, mostly offshore stuff, and it's just a lot of testing, mechanical design, stress integrity tests, things like that.
And this is with
Schlumberger, yeah.
Blue cheese. Okay.
Yeah. Blue cheeseburger.
Blue cheeseburger. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a good job. It's just a big ass corporation.
Yeah.
It was a great job, great people, but it wasn't for me long.
You didn't like feeling not like the people at Schlumberger, but some people they can thrive in a culture like that.
Absolutely.
Where it is so large and it is so grand, and there's a career path that's laid out in front of you because it's tried and true. But some people operate and flourish better at smaller companies.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you felt that you would flourish.
On the ladder, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Exactly.
So that's Schlumberger, Sugarland, 23.
Yeah. So it was nice, a good salary, good company, but yeah, it wasn't for me long run, and needed a little more adventure. Wanted to travel, so my decision after that was quite literally I started researching what kind of engineer travels the most. And that's how I chose to go to get a master's in petroleum engineering.
And where did you get your master's from?
Texas A&M.
Okay.
So it's weird.
So
I got the UT A&M.
House divided, heart divided.
I have no idea. It's just all jumbled up, and I'm just perpetually confused about that kind of thing. I am a proud alumnus of both schools.
Good for you. Way to play. That's good. That's a good way to play your cards. So after A&M, and you said your master's in A&M.
Yeah, and I didn't even have to change industries. I just changed what kind of engineer I was in the industry, and so the main reason was like I wanted that. This is the mid 2000s when I was applying, thinking about this stuff, like the oil and gas. I mean, especially E&P's oil and gas industry in the U.S. There's so much development was internationally.
Right.
So the expat gigs were That was like apex. That's what I wanted to do.
That enticed you.
I really want to do that. That was adventure. That was living in another country for years at a time, learning the culture.
And when you're early 20s, that's kind of, that's choice right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I started interviewing at the end of getting my master's at A&M, and there's this kind of subsurface consulting company, did a lot of reserves and reservoir modeling and such, and they had majority of their fees and revenue coming from Argentina.
Okay.
Their national oil company, their YPF. So it's like, okay, well, if I go to work for them, they did say, like, you could get for us, you're going to go to Argentina. Like, sold.
Yeah, there's worse places in the oil field to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I was just so hyper focused on the expat thing. I didn't really. I mean, it was a great company, but it was a startup, and it came with startup risk.
Okay.
And so I was having an awesome time in Argentina. It was not the best spot. It's kind of the Midland of Argentina, with all due respect to Midland. It was Neuquén.
We love Midland out there for you Midland listeners.
Absolutely. I go out there about once a month and always have a good time, but maybe I like the humidity or something. So.
Well, no, I get that. I mean, when I was at Noble, I mean, I'd go, people, oh, you're going to Brazil. It's like, yeah, but it's not Rio. It's Macaé. It's not like
exactly.
the glamour that people think.
No, exactly. And same thing with Argentina. Argentina, Buenos Aires, or the wine country. No, is Neuquén, which is kind of high desert, and some rolling hills. The best thing going for it were culture people. It was interesting, especially for a gringo, an expat. And it was 3 hours away from the Andes.
Oh wow!
So that was a frequent weekend trip between. Sometimes we only make it for a day at a time. It's just ridiculously busy. But and my job there was to liaise between the. Talk about getting thrown to the wolves. Typical startup, I guess. Liaise between the national oil company. They're doing a pilot project.
Okay.
For some tight gas, and again, this was 2007, 2008, where tight gas was still kind of a new thing. We'd been developing at that point tight gas, Cotton Valley, Pinedale. That kind of exploitation. We've been doing that in the U.S. for a couple of decades, but it really hadn't, that technology, that exploitation strategy had never really...
So you were a liaison between the national and then the company you were down there? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Exactly. Right. And that was awesome. That was such a good experience, and they just trusted me to do that. I was straight out of school.
Was it normal? I guess every... not every, I hate using those absolute words like never, always, but right. Majority of the time when you're dealing with a national oil company, it's always a lot of red tape.
Yes.
A lot of red tape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was an internal struggle at YPF. They kind of cycled between being nationalized and being privatized. This was actually at a point where they were still quasi-private.
Okay.
Repsol, the Spanish kind of national oil company, had bought YPF during I think it was a privatization a few years previous. So there's some Repsol people there.
Yeah.
And there's the legacy YPF people there. And going into their office, it was extremely well funded. They were extremely educated. They had the most modern technology. These were fantastic professionals with every bit as much skill and ability as an E&P here.
All right.
So that was not the problem. The people were great. The problem is politics.
Yeah.
As you would expect.
Like in everything.
Red tape. Yeah.
Literally everything.
Yes. Yeah. So there were some weird conflicts of interest. I could never figure out the gas price, how gas was priced there, because it just kind of changed arbitrarily. There was a formula, but the formula never really worked. A lot of the gas was exported to Chile, and that was based on, and the two currencies kept moving wildly with respect to one another. So it was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird, and I could never really tell if it was profitable.
Okay.
And maybe neither could they.
So how long were you down there for?
It was 6 months. It's supposed to be a 2-year stint.
Okay.
Small American startup gets a 2-year contract for kind of a collaborative exploitation of a pilot project, this type gas pilot project, and it was going well.
Yeah.
And then maybe some interior minister's brother-in-law got appointed somewhere. I don't know. I have no idea, but all of a sudden the people who wanted us there were gone. And
was that like kind of like an almost overnight thing?
it kind of was.
Interesting.
Yes. And the people that remained did not have the decision-making ability anymore to retain us and keep us there.
Okay.
So they canceled the contract. Okay, it's just like if it's happened within the U.S., then there would be a lawsuit. But I mean,
there it's just get your ass home.
yeah, there's really not a lot you can do. I mean, there's recourse, but as a small startup, there's just
what are you gonna do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we finished up. There were some lingering things we finished up. Had some extremely good business development people that kept that going as long as possible.
Okay.
It was winding up. It was winding down. So after 6 months, I went back to the States. It's supposed to be 2 years, and I felt kind of a little robbed, I guess, of that experience, because
Right.
we were talking about it. Okay, well, I go to Nail Canyon. It was awesome, especially for someone who's never been there before.
Yeah.
And then the Andes Mountains, 3 hours away. That was a great life. But I did want to go live in Buenos Aires and go work at the big tower in the capital.
By the way, I'm going to interrupt you. I love how you pronounce the cities, and that's something that I do as well.
Yeah, there you go.
I take great pride in kind of being Euro, so
Yeah.
when it comes to stuff like it's I'll take some queso.
Yes.
I get it.
Well, what are the French terms then? So we can have some cognac.
Well, I'll tell you what. My wife and I went over to France for our honeymoon,
Yeah.
and I haven't been over there for 10 years, something like that. I thought that I would forget everything. I went over there. I don't know how it came back. I was impressing my wife. Yeah, she's like, ooh. I was like, cool. And I was like asking for the toilet. I'm like, where these bathrooms? She's like, oh my god, I love how you asked that. I'm like, thanks, babe.
Yeah,
Appreciate
exactly.
it. So I actually take pride in pronouncing things exactly like Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
So-
there you go. Exactly.
So so after Argentina, you come back. You're in the States. Then what?
Then we kind of had a pivot, and I guess in hindsight it makes more sense. In hindsight, I was still so technically focused at developing my technical ability
Mm-hmm.
that I kind of didn't worry as much about where the next consulting fees would come from. And we again very capable business development people, and had to pivot. So this was 2009, 2010. What was going on then?
So were you back in the States with the
Yes.
same company?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
There's an office in Austin and in Houston.
Okay.
And just the world ends up revolving around Houston and Texas, obviously, especially with shale. All that capital that had been pointed to these disparate parts of the world, all that work, the shale revolution obviously pointed it back to North America, specifically the United States. At the time, 2009, 2010, the Marcellus was kicking off.
Yes.
The Haynesville was kicking off. And very creative using our technology or expertise to accelerate the learning. So we created these big these consortia where we kind of like a core labs kind of thing. So we take 15 operators who are appraising their own acreage and trying out this. In that 2010, we take it for granted now, but just the concept of horizontal well hydraulic fracturing, that was still very much
Brand new.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And had not transferred into liquids and oil yet. It was just gas.
Okay.
With some minor exceptions. So got some really good experience going around and sitting in these all the operators that helped delineate these gas plays back then, Marcellus and Haynesville, some of the Montney as well, and learned just an incredible amount of how creative you have to be to make this work. And yes, it's a lot easier to make it work at $5 an ounce, $6 an ounce. So the price bailed out a lot of the experiments.
Okay.
But as we've seen, that if something works for one person, probably works for another person.
And then everyone jumps on that.
Yes,
Yes.
and therefore we drive down the price. Ends up being kind of just a macro wealth transfer of institutional oil and gas investors to the rest of the world.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
And thus we find we're partly where we find ourselves right now. So that was a great experience. The problem with that business model at the company was Object Reservoir. What was the name of the company? Is you do these consortia, and you kind of run out of new plays to do that. You have to go to the next play, and it was great while it was going on. It was an incredible amount of work, and pretty good fees on that. But you have to keep moving, and that was kind of it was kind of unsustainable. So that business got.
It was unsustainable because there's only a certain amount of plays out there. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once you get to a point where we're delineated, we understand it, or the industry collectively understands the Haynesville or this part of the Marcellus, whatever you're working on.
Yeah.
To some extent, then your work is kind of done. Like we can't
create
as a consultant, we can't accelerate that learning curve much more than is already done.
Okay.
The consortium has fulfilled its purpose.
Okay. So that's kind of so after this, after you realize that's kind of okay. Well, you can only go so far because there's a certain amount of plays out there. So then what happened?
Well, we got these one-off projects and try to get creative again. Again, it's a startup, that kind of perpetual startup culture.
Yep.
And in hindsight, it was incredible talent and really awesome technology, and our own institutional knowledge was fantastic, but wasn't quite at that point where you could turn it into a sustainable business. So we did these one-off projects with operators in the aforementioned basins, big positions, and it just it was winding down.
Okay.
It was time to start looking elsewhere because it didn't have a lot of.
Was the writing on the wall for you when it was time? Sorry, was the writing on the wall for you when it was time to look elsewhere, or was it just kind of like the someone informed you, like, hey, look, it's the project is kind of winding down?
It was on the wall.
Okay.
You could kind of read it, and everyone's body language. Those who knew more than we did. I didn't see that early in my career. I was not entitled to see the financial statements and cash flows. So, in hindsight, it makes sense.
Okay.
It was just winding down, so that eventually, and this was after I left, about 6 months after I left, it was kind of pieced out. The intellectual property was sold to, I believe, Halliburton, and the consulting side got sold to Weatherford.
Okay.
Weatherford was attempting to recreate the Schlumberger DCS, that kind of subsurface consulting arm, and that was that. But at that point, I'd already left.
Where'd you go?
That was a good opportunity. I was 29. That was a good opportunity to in between jobs, and this was in 2009, 2010.
Yep.
Coming off an commodity price crash, it was a good time to take some time off and travel.
So you traveled at this time?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
My first trip was to Eastern Europe.
Prague?
I started in Berlin, and
right.
I guess that was behind the Iron Curtain. The other, at least the Soviet side was. I was fascinated and still am fascinated with Eastern Europe.
Okay.
We learned about Western Europe so much in American public schools, and we're taught that because it's more relevant.
Yeah.
Right? It's more part of our history. The history of Western Europe translates directly into the history.
Yeah, because it's about foreign policy. What are we involved in? What great wars are we part of? Yeah,
exactly.
I get that.
So I felt like I had some sort of like a pretty good foundational knowledge of Western Europe, and it's been. And everyone knows this. The most famous countries, the biggest countries, the wealthiest countries.
So get off the grid a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So just I didn't.
Did you do this? Did you travel alone?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool quality. The fact that someone's especially at 29. I mean, at 21, you can travel anywhere by yourself.
Yeah.
But at that age, traveling by yourself. So how long did you travel for?
That one was for 2 months. So I landed in Berlin, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the inspiration was, but I wanted to do it by motorcycle. So I found a Triumph dealership in Berlin
Did you know how to ride motorcycles before?
No. I took a motorcycle safety course the weekend before going to Berlin.
On YouTube. Okay, go on.
Yeah. So what the good part of this is Germany is maybe the best place to learn to ride a motorcycle in the world because everyone follows the rules. Like, it's just so safe.
There's no assholes on the road.
Exactly.
Okay. There's a little bit of respect for other people out there on the road.
And people do look out for motorcycle riders in Europe.
Okay.
They just go out of their way. It's just, they're just more people who ride motorcycles just to get to work or whatever. It's just more part of the...
Oh yeah, there's little Vespas thing. Yeah,
exactly. So landed in Berlin and got the motorcycle. And hung out in Berlin. It's a great city. For a while, but I wanted to travel. I used that as my jumping off point to Eastern Europe, and went. There are some of these countries would actually take offense to being called Eastern Europe, and that's a discussion for another day. Went to Czech Republic first. So it's Prague.
Well, don't worry, they're not listening to this podcast, so you're gonna be okay.
Yeah, exactly. So Central Europe, but previously behind the Iron Curtain. Okay. So Czech Republic. Went to Prague, but I was really interested in rural, just the small towns and the
lifestyles out
there, and the UNESCO sites and everything. So I actually spent more time in the Czech countryside than actually in the cities. So Prague is it's a wonderful city. It is crawling with tourists, and
it's a city.
It is.
It's just like going to any major, like London.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like I get it. I mean, it's New York with an accent.
Exactly.
I'm not saying it's the same thing, but the same feel. It's a major city, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I was really interested. It's just so exotic seeing small towns in Eastern Europe. That's what really attracted me.
Did you get any like interesting foods over there?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite meals was in I forget the name of the city, but it's directly south of Prague, about an hour and a half. And is this? It's a UNESCO site. It's a wonderfully Český Krumlov. That's what it's called.
No idea.
Český Krumlov.
Okay.
The first night there, I just sat down, and there weren't very many tourists there. What tourists were there were day trippers from Prague, and at night everyone leaves.
We go back to Prague.
And then there's only locals there, and people just staying there because I had my own transportation. I could stay there. And I just went to look like a pub, and there are these called pivovar, the breweries, brew pubs.
Yeah.
There's just nothing but.
Isn't that beer Pivo?
Yes.
P-I-V-O-T?
Yes.
That's the Euro side of me. Go on.
Exactly. And a good Texas tradition of Czech folks here. So actually, you go to some parts of Texas and ask for a Pivo, they know exactly what.
Yeah, I mean Texas was settled by a lot of Czech people. Around like Waco area and all that. Yeah,
absolutely. So I ordered something on the menu. It wasn't in English.
Did you know what it was?
I asked, and the waitress, who's also the owner. That's what's nice, is that it's the family that runs the brew pub where you go eat and or 8 different types of pilsner. And so I was just like, what should I get? Sorry, it was in English, but it was very poorly translated. I was like, what do I get here?
Guide me.
I was like, well, how about some pheasant? It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do some pheasant. So. Came out, and I was like, man, this is delicious. Is it what is that? What is it? Shotgun shot. It was just freshly killed, I guess, that afternoon. I don't know.
And that's something that the Heights is doing too. It's very field to table. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, it's authentic. Very field to table, farm to table.
Exactly. So that those. It's still a thing in Central Europe. It's a big Austrian tradition too, and Central European tradition. Hunting, wild game. So it was a free range pheasant that I had for dinner with delicious pilsner and Germanic sides. Potato salad and
I love it, slaw, all that stuff, the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've heard of the Sudetenland, right? When the world. So this is part of.
First off, of course I have, but why don't you explain it to the listeners out there who haven't heard of it? Go.
Okay, so when World War II started, Nazi Germany annexed the Sudetenland, which is a the most Germanic part of the Czech Republic.
It still grinds my gears. Go on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Still pisses me off to this day.
So the culture there is still somewhat Germanic.
Okay.
It still has that influence. It is Czech, mostly speaking, these days. Although if you probably did the 23andMe or whatever, you probably wouldn't notice much difference.
All right.
Between those folks and the folks on the German side of the border. But anyway, so that's also what made it pretty interesting. So that was the border of the Sudetenland, and then started going east from there, which in the more traditionally Czech heartland, very rural, very pastoral, and Brno and so a bunch of other small towns, lots of UNESCO sites that no one ever goes to because they're hard to get to them. I mean, so, and then from the eastern Czech Republic into Slovakia. Okay. Beautiful mountains there, and then into Hungary. Went to Budapest, and then stayed in Budapest. That's a wonderful city.
I've heard, yeah.
That might be one of my favorite cities. Might be my favorite city in Europe.
Okay.
So awesome city. And then from there went to, I was originally going to keep going south into Bosnia and Croatia, but I had spent so much time in Hungary, Slovakia, and Czech Republic, I was running out of time. At this point, I'd already been there over a month.
So you're running out of time. What do you mean? Did you have a return ticket, or did you actually have another job lined up? I mean, what was it? Did you have a certain set time?
Yeah, return ticket, I guess I could have changed it,
yeah.
But I did need to go back and concentrate on the professional thing again.
Okay.
What am I going to do? But I was having such an awesome time. Anyway, so I did more or less stick to my schedule.
You still got that bug?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely.
What was the last trip you went on?
I went with my girlfriend last year to...
pre-COVID?
Yeah, pre-COVID, absolutely. We went to a wedding in Scotland. One of her friends is Scottish.
Okay.
And then we went to France and went to Normandy.
Oh.
And traveled. We got a car, no motorcycle this time. Car's a little more,
I get it. Car's more 30 plus.
Yeah.
Motorcycle's more, 30 and below. Like the rebel, the badass.
There you go.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So I that's why I was interested in your French pronunciation. So.
Well. Merci, or thank you, as we say. So, all right, so you're done with your Eastern European travels on a motorcycle. You come back here. What's next for you?
I go interview for a couple jobs and decide I'm not done traveling. So
okay.
At that point, it was, where did I go? That was Colombia for about a month. And this was a couple of cycles of this. I was in Colombia for a month, came back. I really need to get a professional thing going. That sounded like some wind.
What was that, thunder?
Maybe it was. Jeez.
That wasn't the audio equipment here. That was the external noise. So go on.
So Colombia, kind of like, okay, the responsibility thing hit again. Different. There's the devil saying, well, you can go back to South America. It's cool. So I went back to Peru and stayed in Peru for a month, and then at some point Australia was in there too.
Okay.
I think that was August. So we're talking about like March to August, 3 continents, and probably 5 months, 4 to 5 months solid in other places.
So March to August, pretty much like the entire COVID, COVID, people losing their lives. March. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So instead of staying in your house, you got to travel.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Nice.
And then finally the responsibility was sort of forced on me by, I just ran out of money.
I know that.
I really, that was probably irresponsible. The last 2 trips might have been much.
Well, shit.
In hindsight,
you don't count it with your dead.
True.
Yeah.
Very true. So I came back. I was like, okay, I just really need to get a job right now because I need to
get some roots settled,
feed myself.
Right.
And found just started looking around. At that point, it's 2011. Oil's $100 a barrel.
Okay.
And despite the kind of gypsy lifestyle, some folks managed to overlook that, which I appreciated, and found a really good reservoir engineering job at a company called Wapiti Energy.
Yeah, we talked about that before. It's kind of a small. We were talking before the podcast came on. I mean, we're mentioning, whether it's Corey Parrott, Jason Churchill.
Yeah.
Oh, this guy. JD Braddock. Derek Ingleson with Wapiti.
Yeah.
It's funny how small the oil field industry is.
It really is. You've got millions of people here, and you add up all the market cap, as depressed as they are right now, of all the oil companies that are based out of Houston, Texas. You'd think you can just kind of slip by anonymously, but you really can't.
No, absolutely.
So
not.
this is actually pretty cool, because it's like it prevents people from screwing other people over, or rather, I guess, mitigates it.
Well,
obviously it still happens, but like you can't do that in this industry.
That's kind of what that's a good point you had. I was just talking about this with business partner Terrell Clark about this. It's like the only thing you have in this industry is your name.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's so small, and that's something that's been true, I think, and that's something that people, I think, should realize and understand. It's like it doesn't matter what leadership, always have your own moral compass and always have integrity, because at the end of the day, if I met you and you were at a company that was shady, if they dealt with their vendors poorly, if they took advantage of situations, I'd be like, I wouldn't mess with that guy too much, because X, Y, Z.
Exactly.
So I mean, your name and your reputation is extremely important in this industry, and it's small enough where you're going to know someone.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's enlightened self-interest, and that's I want to live in that world where enlightened self-interest makes people do the right thing.
Yeah, easier stuff. But then I don't know. I mean, the majority of people I meet in this industry, they do the right thing.
Yes.
I feel like.
Yeah,
I feel like, and if they haven't, you hear about it before.
Yes.
So, Reservoir, Wapiti, now what?
Yeah.
By the way, I love how we're like 30 minutes into this and we're just getting through your background.
Yeah. It's fun to talk about traveling. So
I know. I kind of want to go back to that. So let's get to where you're at today, and then we'll talk about whatever we want to.
All right. Summarize this as quickly as possible. Wapiti, awesome company. Had some very good assets and got some great experience. I only stayed there about 6 months.
Okay.
I got a headhunter contacted me, and it wasn't Micah.
Micah, president at the Energist.
Yes.
Old around the Rotary. Yes, go on.
I was talking about a technical job at Jefferies.
Okay.
Very prolific M&A firm, investment bank, here in Houston, and it was just a great opportunity to. I didn't like the fact that I was only at Wapiti for 6 months. I'm not that type of person to jump jobs.
Yeah.
But it was. So I really struggled with it. I did, and actually, when I made this decision,
What was struggling about it? Was it the people and the culture at Wapiti, or was it just kind of like a personal, like, well, shit, this is on my resume for only 6 months. That just looks bad.
there was that, but it was also like I felt like I made a commitment
Yeah.
to my boss there.
Yeah.
And I was kind of going back on that commitment. I didn't tell him.
I can relate to that.
So I did feel a little guilt, and actually, to be traveling back in it, I was in Croatia and Bosnia Herzegovina and Montenegro.
Were you at the Croatian boat party?
No.
Dude.
I know what you're talking about. That sounds pretty awesome.
I think when things get lifted,
Yeah.
oil prices go up, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah, absolutely.
We'll do around the Rotary in Croatia boat party.
I told my boss I was taking the job at Jefferies at a hostel in Dubrovnik, which is that citadel. It's in Game of Thrones. That was the capital, or what they kind of made it look like anyway. It's that walled
The
city.
Lannister capital?
No, how am I not?
Well, there's the South.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, the main capital.
Yeah, when the brother and sister.
Yes,
they
yes,
bang.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a way to.
Sorry
yes,
sorry for the spoiler alert
Yeah.
for the 1% that's never seen Game of Thrones that loves saying never seen one episode. So yeah, okay, so you're there.
Yes, and I remember that's where I told my boss. It was actually quite a memorable conversation. I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
I felt like I was letting him down, and I was not. I made a commitment to him. So I really didn't feel great about it, but it was the right thing for me, and I guess that's just how it goes sometimes. So.
I've had two very difficult conversations in my career, and they've been one was Noble Drilling, loved the people there, loved the connections I made, but an opportunity presented itself that I couldn't pass up, and that was a very, very difficult conversation. And the second one is, and again, like I was leaving Pinergy, and I love the group at Pinergy, I love the service, I love the people. I had the best mentor, Bubba Smith, in the world. That was an extremely difficult, if not emotional, conversation. Because it's tough. I mean, you're emotionally invested. You have a promise. You have like a commitment, as you said, and it's just you have to have that separation for yourself, and it sucks.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah, I hear it. I guess a lot of people do go through it, and then there's that, and the fact that you are having that moral struggle is probably a good thing. That means you've got some scruples.
Thank you. But also, I mean, another thing is with that. I mean, some people are like, oh, like, do they counter offer or like should you get? It's like, but it's not about the money at that point.
It wasn't, and I felt like I'd already made up my mind,
okay.
And I don't. I mean, it probably would have been theoretically possible to go back and forth a couple times and increase my salary 5% or something.
But it's not about that at the end of the day.
No, it wasn't.
It sounds stupid to say, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah. It is. So I think I just, when I made a decision, it was just like,
So you're at Jefferies.
It's the right thing to do.
You're at Jefferies.
Yeah, and that was fantastic. Just immediately, and this is 2012,
right.
In the middle of shale billion-dollar JV land and billion-dollar asset sales, and it was just got thrown into the middle of that immediately. The deal flow was fantastic, and I remember people get on Jefferies, and I guess the oil and gas industry in general for selling something that didn't come to fruition. Well, if I go back to those original management presentations, pitch decks, the reserves, the economics we were pitching were all at $5 an MCF, and this is mostly gas back then. This is some Eagle Ford stuff too, but it's a lot of gas. It's all those big Marcellus ones. $5 an MCF. Wells cost $7 million, for a 4,000-foot lateral or something, and it did 4 or 5 BCF, and it wasn't awesome, but it worked. So the capital cost and the reserves from a new well, the type curve, those were wildly undersold versus what actually happened. And that's what crashed the price. Everyone makes that incremental gain all at once. It's like, oh my God, you start running that same, at $5 an MCF, well, I can do this. I have a 10 BCF well. I can get it for $6 million. Are you kidding me? I'm going to just issue a bunch of equity or load up on debt and just go nuts.
It's not sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. So everyone was seeing that at the same time. And you're a victim of your own success.
But it's like playing poker. No one wants to be the first at the table.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like, wait a minute, and this happened again. This is 130, 150 years of oil and gas industry. We produce a commodity.
Yeah.
Demand doesn't move that much. Price has to reconcile any imbalance, and that's what we've just been experiencing ever since the shale thing happened. So. But it was a great experience there. The deal flow was fantastic, Jefferies.
So I want to get to this. How did you go from Jefferies to co-founder and president at Triple Crown Resources? I mean, what propelled you back into the E&P side of things?
So I don't know what my expectation for duration at Jefferies was. I knew I liked it. Just great people, and it was
great experience.
Yes, it was fantastic experience, and it's an experience I wouldn't trade for anything. It was times difficult and frustrating and hard, but the experience was I couldn't have gotten it anywhere else. And great folks, and there's just the stereotype of investment bankers in general. Yeah, I guess it's true for some folks, but I never really saw it. So I had nothing but respect for everyone I worked for.
So you went. So you've been at your current role as co-founder and president of Triple Crown Resources for how long now?
It's been, I left in, let's see, winter of 2017.
Winter of 2017. So it's still kind of. We never really recovered since 2015, so it was still kind of in a slump. Okay,
It was, and it was, I left at a time when it was the end, I left Jefferies. Left there at a time when it was the end of like the just like incredible enthusiasm.
The flip model, yeah.
With like the oily shales, especially the Permian. I mean, that was like.
I think I had Cody Rodriguez, the CEO, and Mike Tesseri, the COO of Iron Orchard. They said they were like, after that, after they sold at QStar, the industry was changed. It was just different. You couldn't get what you wanted before. So that's kind of why they went this road.
Yeah.
Thing. So I guess you're in your position now. It's been 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
You said okay, and right now it's we're recording this right now in the beginning of September of 2020. What's kind of no, let's get to that. What's making you anxious right now about our industry, moving forward?
First we'll get through the obvious, and it's commodity price. We're our $40 a barrel here, and within the last week we sold off from 42 to where are we at today, 38 or something.
Yeah, 38.
It's just
Great.
Volatility. So
that's everyone though.
Yes, yeah, true.
That's everyone though. Well, what about you though?
So my anxiety for the next few months, let's say 6 months,
Perfect.
is that this price is artificial. OPEC is in complete control of $40 a barrel. If OPEC decided they wanted $25 a barrel tomorrow, they would do it. All they have to do is make an announcement.
Yeah.
They just,
yeah.
It takes 5 minutes to crash. So that overhang, we live in a world that pre-COVID consumed 100 million barrels a day of hydrocarbon liquids,
right.
Oil, condensate, and some natural gas liquids. Right now it's mid 90s, and OPEC has shown incredible restraint and discipline, historic. Saudi Arabia is like they're busting heads in OPEC over non-compliance with their quotas.
Right.
And this is why we're at it sucks. No one likes $38, $40 a barrel, but the fact that it's this high is because they've done an historic job of over-compliance on their production cuts. This overhang, it's going to burn off. So there's natural decline. Maybe it's 2021, maybe it's 2022, but I mean, this is it. This is every day you kind of live with that risk, that idea that
something out of your control
yes.
can completely flip everyone's lives.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our industry has matured, and we did shale co's and in some parts of Twitter shitco's what we're called, and to some extent that's fair.
Yeah.
Everyone had kind of unreasonable expectations, maybe underwrote inflated price decks, maybe had rosy expectations. The underwriting was not quite there. It was pervasive. It was like, I can lean on this result. I can lean on it. And no matter how disciplined you were, your financial incentive destroyed any discipline you have. And that was the 2015 through 2017 thing. It was like, your incentive, I'm going to give you more money just by making more production. This is Wall Street. And now Wall Street is saying, well, yeah, shale sucks. We're like, okay, it sucks because the incentives we were given.
Yeah.
And collectively given. And maybe this industry should have had more restraint. In hindsight, it should have.
That's kind of something you're seeing all over, whether it's, you're seeing a lot of that chatter on LinkedIn, like whether it's like overpaid this, overvalued this, the reserves were lied about, whatever. I mean, you're seeing kind of a come to Jesus meeting right now in the oil and gas industry. Like, you're not going to pay extraordinary amounts for an acre of land when it's priced at this much. I mean, you're kind of seeing like these management teams, executive management teams, kind of getting stripped down, kind of getting knocked down a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And some of it. I mean, there's a big gray area of kind of relative. I don't think anyone purposely misled people. You get kind of caught up in the number one, your incentive, which we already discussed. But like, okay, well, I can't do anything because if the conservative underwrite case is just completely uncompetitive, you could not do anything for years. At least not in the hotter basins. That's capitalism. Okay, right. We get perhaps irrationally exuberant at times, and things like that happen. But it's in hindsight, it makes sense why we got here. But the discipline in the middle of it to say no, this is wrong.
No, we kept going with it.
We kept going.
Oh
exactly.
Yeah, we kept going. Yeah, we're the kid with candy. It's like I don't care if it's making me sick later. I want it now.
Yes, and
Evelyn.
I do.
My daughter, I'm talking to you.
Yeah, there you go. And I do remember. Yeah, let's go back 4 years ago. Like, some of the equity issuances to go buy things at crazy valuations. Like, but I'm being rewarded for it. Why would I not do that? Why would you not? Even if you didn't like it in your heart of hearts, I don't like the metrics here, but I'm being rewarded by the market for this. The incentive was there. So that's what was broken. So
where's the incentive going to be now?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
It's overshot to the other side. It is, and this is the view is pervasive. Like, we just have to figure out how to live at $35-$40 a barrel for the rest of us. Like, but okay, go back to 1870s Pennsylvania.
Oh, good
and like the
great old days. You used to get check pheasant.
There you go, man.
Right? Yeah.
There you go. There's just nothing but booms and busts. That's all the oil industry is. So like, it's going to happen again. Yes, this is a slightly different reason, but every time it happened, there was a slightly different reason than the previous time.
And something that Jason Churchill brought up. I mean, you're going from the mindset of punching a few holes in the ground and flipping it for X times whatever.
Yeah.
To hey, we're going to hold on to this asset and operate it in profit.
Right.
So it's not living with $35 a barrel. It's like, no, how do we turn profit on $35 a barrel?
Yeah.
How do we hold on to this asset? Because we're not flipping it anymore. It's not the way it was in 2015, 2014.
Exactly. We're all kind of call options on oil price.
Yeah.
With different mildly different value propositions there. Yeah, like it's possible to survive right now. It is.
Yeah.
Your Triple Crown will survive. No one's making a lot of money, no, but we're keeping ourselves employed. We're keeping the machine going, and that's all we have to do. And like, this is just yesterday I just saw something that's like, is this the bottom? That looks like a sign of the bottom. It was Jim Cramer, and all his. I got my sleeves rolled up just like Cramer's white shirt, whatever. Oil is a perma short. It's like. What?
If I
go read the prize. Go read Daniel Yergin's book. Like, go look at the history. Like, that has been said. Those exact words have been said.
Peak oil
at every bottom.
Yeah.
Every single bottom for the last century and a half.
Is this the end of oil? Yeah. And I'm honestly so sick and tired of like those articles on whether it's LinkedIn or whether it's like oil could stay at $20 a barrel till 2024. Or oil could be at $150 a barrel by 2021. It's like nobody knows.
No.
Nobody knows. So the external factors are keeping you anxious. What are you excited about though in our industry, in the short term?
So this period of austerity. I mean, we probably this industry did get overzealous.
Mm-hmm.
There are too many companies. I'm not saying anything remotely original right now.
Yeah,
so,
this is a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of capital.
Yes, and so this is a natural cycle. Like, this is what we did. We have to live with the consequences. We made this bed. We're going to have to lay in it, and we're going to have to consolidate and get more efficient. And the key word there is get more efficient. Triple Crown has this is not just service costs going down. We've gotten more efficient in measurable ways. So every other company out there, because you have to. It's survival.
A lot of people look at G&A as this. I mean, that's a short-term fix. I feel like raising G&A did it. So you said you've gotten more efficient, not just through talking to vendors about potentially reducing prices, but like you have gotten more efficient as a company.
Yes,
as you said.
Absolutely. The things we can control. Like you're an oil company. There's so many exogenous factors, things that like just completely out of your control. What can we control?
Yeah.
Those things that we can control, we have gotten better at. And those are long lasting. This is not just because price is low. We have made real life permanent efficiency
And we're
improvements.
kind of in a situation where it's like we're forced to be more efficient.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
if you're not, you're screwed.
Yeah,
You're going out of
it's
it.
out of necessity. It's born out of
Yeah.
necessity. So this austerity is going to be good for us. It's going to make us more resilient in the long run. These companies, the companies that survive, will emerge on the other side of this as just hulks.
I think so too. Like
Just-
rock stars.
Just awesome.
Yeah.
Like good at what they do. Those that survive. I don't know. If this happened, if this lasts for another year, yeah, I mean that's going to suck. That's going to suck for.
That's a thing,
all
man.
industry.
Like, I mean, people are reaching out that I haven't talked to in a long time and saying, hey, JP, how's things going? How's your business looking? I'm like, man, it's just, you're hearing of stuff happening, but it just sucks right now.
Yeah.
It does. And
It
it's one of
does.
those things where it's like, you put your head down, you do your work, you pick your head back up. And in the past, I mean, you used to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, man, Q4, it's coming. Now it's like, well, shit, I don't even know. You just got to keep on plugging.
Exactly, and I'm 39. This is my third bust, depending on how you define them. But what's cool is talking to the older folks in the industry who lived through the '80s bust and, the '90s bust, and almost without fail, everyone who lived through that and was in the industry says this is the worst one.
Yeah.
That you could see some light, some reason to be optimistic, something that you could kind of anchor on, but this time it's
different.
really hard,
It's dismal.
and you have to just be mentally prepared to deal with that. And
You know what I'm excited about, though? Like, I agree with you. This is one of those things that's a game changer. This is not something that anyone's experienced before, but at the same time, this is part of the oil and gas industry story.
it is.
And I'm excited to be sitting around, whether it's a campfire or maybe around the Rotary virtual in 2040 and saying, hey, do you remember in 2020 what it was like?
Yes.
I mean, it sucks right now, I get that, but shit, this too shall pass. Like, it's going to be different. So it's an experience. Live the experience.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And just get up and do the best you can based on the things that you can control.
And look at what you control.
Yeah.
Don't look at the news and think, oh God, Saudi's doing this, or oh God, focus on what you can't control. Don't get worked up over external factors. Right?
Yes, exactly. And our job, I'm not doing my job unless I contribute to protecting my company from those external factors.
Right.
And that's something we probably all need to get better at is hedging and mitigating price risk. So that's something that it's boring. It's maybe not the most exciting thing, but we all have to be very good at hedging.
Right.
Or we have to be the lowest cost producer in the world. There's some really awesome assets in Texas and New Mexico and the rest of North America.
Right.
But we're just not going to compete with that. We're not. And we don't have the welfare state to support based on those revenues, but they can still spend their F&D costs, however you want to call it, their break-evens on the incremental well, the incremental barrel. It's just always going to be better than us. It is.
Have you shifted your don't speak to the company unless you don't want to, but have you shifted? I mean, when March happened in oil got -37, people stopped traveling. Have you shifted your, I guess, strategy, your lenses that y'all put on as a company? And if you have, was it easy to shift?
It was, if for no other reason than we were so proactive about hedging.
Okay.
We were extremely conservative. We would we would hedge in barrels before we brought out the rig to drill the hole that would produce the barrels. Like that was how it was very regimented.
So y'all are kind of already playing defensively.
Yes, and
that's a great way to put it.
Our strategy was always like, hey, we can afford to go lower margin and give up some upside. Like we can afford to do that because that's the business model. It's we're cash flowing. Our job is to slowly build value through the drill bit. I mean, that's why we were formed, and it doesn't. Yeah, that's becoming more common, and especially in the PE world. We're not a lease and flip. Like we don't do that.
Right.
We have good locations that we like. We have assets we like. We have a lot of production. We have good cash flow. We need to protect it. And being very, very prudent, very good stewards of that cash flow is important. Because like it is. That's the business, is just protecting slow, steady, year-over-year equity growth.
I kind of feel, and that's exactly what Jason Churchill discussed at Petro Legacy. It's not flipping, it's maintaining this asset, operating at profit for a long term.
Yes.
For a long term.
Absolutely. And even if you end up, if there's a buyer who gives you a great number next year or something, well, that number is going to be better if the business is built to do that. Yeah. So you have all kinds of incentives to just build it for the long term, because that's what it looks like right now, and that's cool. We can do things. There's some things to work with. We have to be creative. There's no external capital. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah. Are you optimistic or pessimistic about the future?
So this next 6 months gives me a lot of that is anxiety inducing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's this OPEC overhang, this compressed spring that could unload at any time. We've got a bunch of the shut-in production online again, so we don't have to worry about that crashing anymore. And the duck thing, not everyone, but a lot of folks point to the number of ducks we have in the uncompleted laterals as just this wave of production that's going to come on. No, that's not. That's going to marginally improve capital efficiency next year. That's what that's going to do. You're really not going to feel that.
Okay.
It's the OPEC thing. That is that's the matzo ball, the big matzo ball hanging out there that can really wreck our lives, but like not for long. The longer we go by, the more the world, aggregate, production, the existing production, the existing wells decline. So the call on OPEC right now, they've got 5 million barrels, 5 to 7 million barrels of spare capacity. Libya is schizophrenic, but somewhere in there, it's a lot. It is a lot.
Yeah.
So North America is going to decline, and looks like sometime 2021, 2022, the call on OPEC to fill even a little bit of a pessimistic demand scenario. Let's just say we were 100 million barrels a day before COVID. Let's just say it's 95 million barrels.
People
it's 5%.
Working from home.
Not flying as much. Not as much jet fuel and all that stuff. Let's just say equilibrium in a year is 95 million barrels a day. OPEC, just fast forward a year, OPEC does not have much spare capacity left at 95 million barrels a day because of decline. Like the rest of the world, it's not just the U.S. We've been the source of growth for the last decade. We're going to be the source of most of the decline, but the rest of the world is going to decline, non-OPEC. And because we have no incentive to grow production. So, at some point, I don't know what it is. I really don't. I wish I did.
If you did, you would be sitting here, you'd be on another podcast.
Yeah.
You'd be on a better podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Arm wrestling Jim Cramer or something. But OPEC is not going to have spare capacity. You're going to be at a structural, and keep that going, just in your head. It's like, okay, price stays where it is.
Yeah.
Rig count stays where it is. Frac spread count stays where it is. Things can keep declining. This is where there's like, okay, $40 a barrel, things keep declining. You cannot extrapolate this in the future. So, and then there's all the overhanging worries thrown in about electric cars and
solar, wind turbines.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not against those.
I'm not against it either.
It's just gotten kind of crazy. It's just like that's not a real threat. Like in the short term for some better price.
It's not.
Because that transition is going to take decades. This shortage that is going to happen. I don't know if it's next year, the year after, the year after that.
Right.
It is going to happen.
Yeah.
It is going to happen. It can only be solved by higher prices attracting capital back into the space.
And that will happen.
I don't know where that price is, but it's higher than it is today.
Well, I think a lot of capital or a private equity or Wall Street. I mean, they definitely have a certain view of the oil and gas industry right now, and I get it. However, you're right. It will flip again. I feel like, and
it will, and it'll be to take some Twitter parlance. It will be a face ripping flip, and it will capture a lot of people by surprise, and a lot of people will look stupid. And I'm looking forward to that.
Really?
Based on the demise of the oil and gas industry.
Fossil fuels are up.
The perma short, fossil fuels are a perma short. It's like, good Lord. I mean, like this is some very dramatic. Like, I don't know. It's like why not? People get ratings because they say ridiculous shit.
Yes.
Obviously not you. Well. I hope your ratings improve.
I say stupid
are
shit.
Already really good.
I say stupid shit, not ridiculous shit.
Yes.
Because I don't know.
But people say crazy stuff because it gets headlines.
Clickbait. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, people click on that.
It's clickbait. Like the boring, nuanced view that's in the middle never gets any traction.
The rational, logical,
So it's like I'm not anti-solar. Like, I would love to actually, like, what BP and the majors are doing, like, this is a market response. That they are seeing, like, this is their solution to risk in 2040, 2050.
Yeah.
These companies have to last that long.
Yes.
They see a problem with terminal value, where they have some stranded reserves. They can't predict that. They can't. So they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna hedge. I'm going to start doing renewables. Like, that's rational. They're still going to produce a lot of oil and gas. That's a very radical, nuanced, reasonable median thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's not like some extreme. It's not like oil and gas is the best thing ever. We're gonna be here and
it's not an outlander. It's they're doing that for a purpose. I mean, because eventually, potentially.
That is some serious thunder.
That is some serious thunder. But,
yeah. And so this kind of this rational middle, radical middle, whatever it is, where the renewables and oil and gas coexist and can complement each other, that there is still a massive oil and gas industry that over decades, over a matter of decades, it has to happen this way. It has to.
Yeah.
The world cannot transition that fast. That's where you don't really feel it when it happens over a decadal time span. It's just like
it's just natural. It slowly, gradually starts kind of implementing it in everyone's lifestyle. Yes. Yeah. But it's not gonna be a gradual. It's like no more fossil fuels. Okay. Well, it's not that easy.
Yeah.
It's not that easy.
Exactly, and it's physically impossible.
Yeah.
It is.
So where are you going next? Where are you traveling next?
No. Probably just to Austin.
Stop. If everything opens up right now, the world, where would you go?
That's a good question. There's some pretty good deals on airline flights. I do really like Europe. Okay. So I'd have to ask the girlfriend where she wanted to go and ask her input. She's probably 60% of the input there, but I'd like to go back to Europe.
My wife and I were talking about doing a little castle tour in Germany.
Nice.
I mean, apparently that's a thing.
It is.
We're just kind of bullshit, and I was like, oh, what about a castle tour? But apparently there's a castle road in Germany.
Yeah.
You go to like I don't know, 70 castles or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, I want to wrap this up, man. We got some wine to open, some steaks to have in a little bit. But first off, I want to thank you for coming on. Is there anything that you'd like to tell the audience, or give a message to the audience that are listening, or maybe something I haven't brought up that you'd like to chime in on?
You know, I like the idea of the radical middle, like just this nuance, this like, you know, it's not an extreme view. This let's just be comfortable. God, serious thunder.
Oh, we just lost a little power in the studio, but we're okay.
Okay. You know, that's true with everything, and you know, it's never as good or as bad as the extremes might make it seem. And right now, it's easy to look at the bad.
Yeah.
No,
And that's just not our industry, man. You get a lot of bad with everything. I don't even look at the news anymore.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, it's just no matter what you look at, it's all negative.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's the point of that? Might as well focus on what's in your house.
Right. We can eat, generally speaking.
Yep.
I'm grateful for that. We have a good house. No one's making a lot of money right now, but our basic needs are met. Our lifestyle is better than 98% of the rest of the world here.
We have our friends
that
we should call on.
This is a pretty good life, and our industry is not doing great right now, but there's still reasons to enjoy things.
Absolutely.
Let's go do that with some steaks.
I agree. Well, Ryan, I want to thank you very much for coming on, and I kind of like where this podcast went.
Yeah.
We didn't stick to the script. Actually, we missed probably about 70% of the points, but I enjoyed the conversation. Let's get you back on. But again, everyone, this is Ryan Keys, the co-founder and president of Triple Crown Resources. And if you have any questions for him or myself, you can reach us at you can reach us at roundtherotary at cap-petro.com. Again, that's roundtherotary at cap-petro.com. Ryan, thanks for coming on, buddy. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
It's been fun, man. All right, let's go get some steaks, buddy.
All right, let's do it.
We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.